Hello everyone. I'm recording this video as a follow-up to the video that I just recorded that shows how to run and set up and run an annual data study from inside Rhino. So in this video I'm going to show you how you can run a parametric study with shades for this south window and see the effect on the glare here near close to the window. And then we pick the best option and bake it back to Rhino so we have an updated Rhino model. So I'm going to start from a new file, so there's nothing here, no model. But because I know where the simulation is on Pollination, I can basically go there and then I can take the input model here and I can add it to this Rhino document. So as simple as that, now I have access to this model, and this model has all the properties that has been used for the simulation. So this is a simulatable model. This is basically the same model that was on Pollination, now it's here. Then the next step, I have a Grasshopper script that I put together. It's a simple Grasshopper script. What it does, it adds a shade with different depth of 1, 2, and 3 meters. I mean, 3 meters is pretty deep, but we're using it for this study based on a curve. So I can click here and select one curve. Did I select one curve? I'm not sure if it worked. Select one curve. Oh, I think like the reason I can't select the curve, sorry, is because I'm in room selection mode, so the windows are not selectable. So I changed this by clicking here. So I set the room selection mode off. Now I go back to Grasshopper, select one curve, click here, and now I have a curve 1, 2, and 3. So that's the 3 models that we want. One other thing that I did, instead of loading the whole model that I'm using PO room to only load this room. Again, this is something I'm doing intentionally because, let me change this back to room selection. Because I have seen mainly I think the younger generation coming into using this stuff is just people just spend a lot of time automating things that you shouldn't be automate. It shouldn't be automated. You don't need to automate. So in this case, I'm not going to take all the model, get this room out of it. I just select the room that I have, right? This is a study for this, so I can select this room and then the room is here. Then I add the sensor grids back to the room, and I add it to the model. I use this room with shade now as the new model. So it has one room and it has the new shade that I created. I named the room based on the depth of the shading, so it will be named shade depth 1, 2, and 3. So if I go 2, this will be named as shade depth 2. This is important not to overwrite the same model. And then now that I have both of this, I can basically use this model to schedule new simulations on Pollination. I'm going to spend some time here to show you how to set this up. There are already videos, but I assume you haven't watched any of those videos, so I'll just show you a little bit of how to set up a parametric study on Pollination. So under the Pollination panel, there is a component called Setup Runs that you can use to set up a run. The first step is to get the recipe, so I click on Get a Recipe, and I have to go to the same project that I want to run the study, and it has a recipe. So instead of my personal project here, I'm going to go to the Ladybug Tools project. I use Advanced Search here to be able to find it quickly. So this is Classroom Studies. Press on OK, and there is only one recipe there. So for model, I can use the updated model. For WEA file, I can come here and go to the study that I had there. And where is the WEA? It's one of the inputs, this one. So I can click on download here and basically download this Golden Colorado and bring it to Grasshopper. But I'm not going to do that. The reason I'm not going to do that is because unlike the model that is now in Rhino, this is something that I prefer to be linked to the project, to the previous run on Pollination. For that, I'm going to get the value from the previous run. So the way I'm going to do it is I bring this component list the studies. That helps me to list the studies for a project. Again, I can do a quick search, go to the Ladybug Tools one, go to this classroom studies, and then this will load all the studies. There's only one study there, right? But again, to be careful because people might run more studies, I'm going to use the list item one to only select this one, 0, right? Or I can put -1. I think the earliest, the last one is always on top. So I do 0. I connect this here. No, like, so this is the project. This is the run. Actually, this is that single study that we did. So what I need to do, I'm going to take to load that study inside Grasshopper, and then I'm going to get the inputs of that study. And one of the inputs is the WEA file here. So because it's a file, you see there's a strike here, that small thing here. So I need to download it. So I click here using load asset component and load it. So now I have the model, I have the same WEA file that was used for the study. Again, I could have made this much simpler, but I wanted you to see this process, which is the better way of doing it. One thing not to forget for parametric study is to connect your user data, user inputs here. So you can basically find the studies easily on the cloud when it runs. You'll see in a second why it's important from the UI. So now that I have everything set, I can just start running them. So the way to run them is to use this component called Pollinate that schedules the study on pollination. Before that, I need to create all the runs. So this is a single run. To do that, I'm going to use a data recorder component from Grasshopper to record all these runs while I'm generating them. The way to generate them is to animate this slider, and I'm using Ladybug Fly to do that. You can use other plugins like Colibri to do that. They basically do the same thing. When I set this to fly to true, it basically goes through all the 3 values in this slider and creates 3 runs. So if I check here, there should be 3 runs. You can see them here with these different models that I created. So I connect the runs here, and then I click on pollination to start the simulation on pollination. But before doing that, to be able to find it, you want to set the name and maybe to set a description. So to set the name, I say parametric shade study for name, and I want to make sure things stay clean on inside the folder. So I put the files for this also under a similar folder, subfolder on the project. So Pollination Shade Study. I can show you in a second what that means. So let's connect the subfolder, and now we can start by pollinating. So this should start running scheduling the 3 simulation for us. Simulations are created, done. So now that this is submitted, there are different ways to keep track of the simulation. One way is to use the Grasshopper component, this component that keeps track of them. The other way is right-clicking here and go to check cloud study on Pollination Cloud. So this will open it in a new browser. I bring the browser here, so you can see the 3 of them. They have been started, they have been scheduled, and this simulation will run. So these are the input values that I put in, and you see why it's important, because the order is not always what you expect. So the first one is the depth 1, depth 3, and depth 2, right? This could have been confusing if you didn't have and just assume the order will be the same. So now you can see it's a start ray tracing. While it's doing that, I can pause the video and then I'll come back when the simulations are ready. Actually, I realized I can show you one thing while the simulations are running. So if you remember in Grasshopper, I said I set a subfolder to keep the project clean. So if I go to the project here, to this project on cloud, you can see under files, all the ones that I submitted for simulation are under this subfolder, shade depth 1, 2, and 3. And if you want, you can actually preview them on the web to see so how the model looks like. And it has a sensor grid, but the layer is off by default, so I can turn that on too, so you can see that. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you. The other place actually you can see this, which is the place that I'm going to use to load all the results, is from the Rhino panel itself. So you don't need to go to the web anymore. What you can do, if you go to Classroom, Studies, you can basically see those studies running here. One already finished, and the other two should be finished probably in a few seconds because they're very similar. So I can see this one is finished, this will be finished soon, and then this will finish after that. Okay, now that the simulations are done, I can go to Rhino and to this project and check the studies that I just executed, right? These 3. And you can see like 3 runs almost takes as the same as 1. So I think that's the beauty of running things on the cloud. I don't know if I mentioned, but you can run these studies locally too by right-clicking here and run on local machine. The only thing is just it will run one at a time. And again, you can use the local studies, but these are on Pollination. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to visualize the results here and pick the best one and then bake it back here. Before that, I'm going to save this Grasshopper script and close it so it doesn't preview anything. Of course, I could have visualized all this result back in Grasshopper, but in this video I want to show you the workflows from Rhino, because now you can actually send it to, if you're running for someone else, you can send it and say, hey, this is the parametric study, you can just check the result. So the first thing is I'm going to go with a deeper version and do a preview. So you can see it's quite a bit helpful to get the additional glare here under control. So let's turn this off and try the one with 2 meters. So yeah, you can see the difference here. So this is more. Again, this is now a question between like how much material you want to use, how important it is for you. So now this case, like this is only 1. You can see it's similar. 1 is similar to the base case scenario that we had. So let's say I pick this depth 3, and I say, okay, material is fine. I'll put probably some columns to help, or some cables. So this is the option that I want, the 3 meter one. So what I can do now, I can easily replace this room that I had with this new model that I have here. So I'm going to delete this room, right? And then I'm going to use this, this model here. If I preview it, you can see it goes here. It has all the shades and everything. And I'm going to add it to this model. Here you go. So now I set up the study, ran a parametric study. Of course, there are better ways of visualizing this, but that's not what we want to discuss here. But I was able to quickly see them. I was able to pick the option that I had, and then I didn't need to go upload, download anything. I just added it to my existing Rhino model. And if it wasn't clear, this is the same name, so Classroom 2, and you can see everything. And the shade is real pollination shade object. So the one that we created is now baked, and we have the updated model. This will be helpful for, like, if you have models in Rhino, then you run parametric studies, and then you want to basically use the new model. So you can easily add that model into Rhino now from Pollination. The other thing to keep in mind was I didn't include the whole model, or I didn't try to make everything parametrically. I just took the part that I needed, I ran that part parametrically, kept everything else in Rhino because it's more efficient and faster, and then when I was done, I just baked it back into the Rhino document. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or any feedback, the best place to post your questions is our Pollination Discourse. The address is discourse.pollination.cloud. Thanks again, and we'll see you online.